Greetings, friends. We are so happy to have you to come to another episode of our podcast, Innovate, Ignite, and Inspire. I am Dr. Barbee Watkins, lead presbyter for the Presbytery of the James, and we have with us our guest, Barbara Chalfont, who is also a presbyter with the Presbytery of the James, and she serves as the presbyter for Congregational Care. This is part 2 of our podcast, and so we're just going to pick up where we left off. How you doing today?
I'm doing great.
So good to hear. So now you are a certified Christian educator.
I am.
And you've been doing this for 37 years.
37 years.
Lots of history, lots of education, lots of information. And so here's my question that I want to ask of you now. Discipleship.
Yes.
That's a word we hear often.
Yes.
How does the church make disciples?
By telling the story of Jesus, by telling the good news, by loving each other well, by serving each other well, by reaching out in our communities and being the light of Christ as we wander in the world.
So that's pretty easy to do, right?
Sure.
So the reality is that it's not easy to do.
No.
We have to be taught.
That's right.
To do those things. And that's where you come in.
That's part of what I do, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I actually love talking about evangelism because it's about practicing telling your story. And I love sitting with people and listening for their stories and getting them to understand that they are great storytellers and that it comes naturally, but it's something you have to practice over and over in order to be ready when the opportunity comes and to be able to see the opportunity as it comes.
Wow. I like how you said that. Practice our faith, practice sharing our stories. I don't think I've heard it put that way before. As a practice, it's almost like a musician who practices his or her or their instrument, or whether it be vocal or whatever, in order to continue to become good at it. That makes really good sense. So we're talking about Bible studies, and what other ways can congregations empower, inspire the folks in the pews to practice their faith?
Fellowship times. Fellowship is a great time for people to practice telling their stories, to ask, where have you seen God today? Where have you seen God this week? To let them tell their God stories. We do it all the time with children and youth, especially youth. At the end of every conference day, when you take the youth on mission trips or to conferences, you ask, where did you see God today? And they answer, and their hearts show. And we don't do that so often with our adults. We assume they know how to do that, but it's not an assumption we can make anymore.
Wow. So you are a member of is it nationwide or is it international?
International. So
you're a member of an international organization
called the Association of Partners. The Association of Partners in Christian Education.
Wow. APSE for short.
APSE for short.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about this organization, what you do when you get together. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, APSE is wonderful. It is an organization for educators, run by educators, who love innovation, who love to inspire and to live into the ministry that is Christian education or Christian formation. They are from all over the world, mostly from the U.S. and Canada. They are in several denominations, mostly within our Reformed family of churches. And we gather once a year nationally, and regionally we gather once a year regionally, and retreat and celebrate together what we have been doing. It keeps our hopes and dreams alive.
So now you just recently attended that conference, correct?
I did.
So I know, I didn't get a chance to go, but I know that you and our other team member, Leanne Ring, got a chance to go. And you're going to hear a similar kind of interview with her in a later episode. But can you just share maybe just one tidbit of information or of innovation that you learned while you were there?
Well, we had John Pavlovich as our speaker, and he's an equal opportunity offender. He offends the liberals and the conservatives, and that's which I like about him. But one of the things that came out in one of the workshops and with him was, remember, Paul's churches are no longer existing.
Wow.
So remember, when you look at your own church, it may or may not exist in 7 to 10 years either. But that doesn't mean that God isn't there working hard and calling you to do new things. So risk. Make the risk, even if it ends the life of the particular church. Take the risk to do new ministry and to try new things. And that was sort of freeing for me to think Paul's churches are no longer with us. But we look back on them and learn from them now.
So would it be safe to say that unless a church is willing to take risks, it, first of all, might not even be in existence in 7 to 10 years.
Right.
But if it's not willing to take risks, are we still being faithful?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not going to say whether a church is faithful or unfaithful. You will not get me to say that. But it sure is against the spirit to not take the risk, to not take the chance. Yeah. You don't have to say it directly, but I think you sort of kind of said it indirectly. I've often thought about, the path that Jesus takes us on is not a conventional pathway. And in fact, he is having dinner in folks' houses that he shouldn't. He is having fellowship with tax collectors. He is allowing women to be in his presence. He's breaking all of the cultural norms of that time. So what I hear is there has to be some risk taking, right,
for our congregations. So say something about how risk has to be encountered, because obviously you don't want to scare people by doing a whole bunch of things. But if a congregation is willing to say, you know what, we want to get into some riskier thinking, and if it means that we lose ourselves for the sake of the gospel, then we're okay with that. Talk a little bit about how a congregation could begin to move into taking, we're going to call them baby steps.
Right. It starts with prayer. It starts with prayer. And it starts with a really clear-eyed look at who and what the church is at this very moment, and who and what are our neighbors. We serve a God who calls us to share the good news with everyone, not just those people who walk through our doors. And that's a gift. That's a gift that we can engage in. Praying, being clear-eyed about the situation the church is in, about their neighborhood, and then asking the neighborhood, who do you think we are?
Wow.
As a church? What do you know about us?
Yeah.
And that can be really uncomfortable. And then ask, what do you need from us? And then do it.
And then do it.
And then do it. And it may be that your preschool needs to add on a daycare center. It may mean that your Boy Scout troop might have to move to a different time frame so that you can have showers for the homeless folks that are on your streets. It may mean that your Wednesday night dinner is a lot bigger because you've invited the whole world in to eat with you.
Wow. Yeah.
So.
Wow. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. So, Barbara, obviously, the Presbytery of the James is moving in a direction of incorporating more technology into the things that we do. After all, we're doing a podcast. We're doing a vlog. We're doing video and audio. We're having conversations that are probably going to be sent out into places that we'll never know. So technology is obviously becoming a bigger part of the church in general.
Correct.
Help our audience hear some of the ways in which technology can be used in Christian education and spiritual formation, maybe.
Well, there's a great site called Open Doors to Discipleship, which our church has just recently revised. It's an older resource that has a brand new everything right now. And it trains officers, it trains educators, it trains people who just want to learn what it means to be Presbyterian. It talks about what is the Reformation and how did we get here from that, and that sort of thing. So there are sites like Open Doors to Discipleship that are becoming renewed and are having longer lives than we thought. There are also churches around the country who have youth groups and adult groups who have done podcasts and have done worship and all of that online. And now it's available to us. So sharing across the country is easier. So adult education, I can go online and go to a church in Kansas and pick up a podcast adult education session from Roger Nishioka and use it tomorrow here.
Wow. Yeah. So we're no longer limited by our geography. We can go and get somebody from no matter where in the world, and we can tap into that lecture or that teaching or that Bible study and have it and show it and engage it on our own.
That's right.
And so that's part of the ways in which innovation takes place, and we continue to share the message and sharing resources in Christian education. Wow, Barbara, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The words that you have shared, the wisdom that you have imparted, the stories of our faith continue to touch, move, and inspire us all. So this is the 3-part series of our time with Barbara Chalfant, and we're so grateful that you have taken the time to tune in. So this is Dr. Flo Barbee Watkins with the Presbytery of the James. Stay inspired.